of Montreal is an American rock band from Athens, Georgia. It was founded by frontman Kevin Barnes in 1996, named after a failed romance between Barnes and a woman of Montreal. The band is identified as part of the Elephant Six Collective. Throughout its existence, of Montreal's musical style has evolved from vaudeville late 60s Beatles and Kinks-influenced psychedelic pop to a mixture of electronica, funk, glam, and afrobeat music influenced by Prince, Talking Heads, O's Mutants and David Bowie. History: early years, Kevin Barnes founded of Montreal, allegedly naming it for a failed romance with a woman from Montreal, Quebec. Barnes was the only member of the group prior to his relocation to Athens, Georgia. There, he met Derek Elmstead and Brian Poole, who also performs as the late BP Helium. Together, they recorded their debut album, Cherry Peel, and subsequent releases The Bird Who Ate the Rabbit's Flower and The Bedside Drama, A Petite Tragedy. After production on The Gay Parade, the band's third album, began in 1998, Poole left the band to focus on his duties with Elf Power, another Elephant Six band. Barnes then recruited James Husband and Dottie Alexander, who had been performing together as Lightning Bug vs. Firefly. Derek moved from drums to bass, and Marshmallow Coast's Andy Gonzalez joined soon after. Prior to the release of The Gay Parade in 1999, of Montreal released a number of singles and a re-release of The Bird Who Continues to Eat the Rabbit's Flower. Kindercore: following the release of The Gay Parade, the band signed with Kindercore Records, who released a number of singles and compilations. In 2001, the concept album Cockalicotte Asleep in the Poppies, a variety of whimsical verse was released, again featuring contributions from across the Elephant Six spectrum. In 2002, Aldous Arboretum was released. This album marks the beginning of the change in of Montreal's sound, with more danceable rhythms than before, particularly on the album's Closer, Death Dance of the My Papas and Sons for You. A successful tour ensued, including the band's first trip to the UK, along with a tour-only EP. Polyvinyl, Kindercore Records would fold shortly after the release of Arboretum, and Andy and Derek left the band. Barnes took to writing and performing their 2004 album Satanic Panic in the attic mostly by himself. Released by Polyvinyl Records, it became one of their more successful efforts until that point. During the tour for Satanic, the late BP Helium rejoined the band. In 2003, Kevin was married to Nina Gratitland, who would also play some bass for the tour. The album marked a shift to an electronic bass, with drum machines and synthesizers featured in singles such as Disconnect the Dots. This style would continue to evolve into 2005's The Sunlandic Twins, which was even more of a solo effort by Barnes. Recorded in Athens, with the exception of one track recorded in Norway, it was a much more pronounced electronic album. The album became a success, mostly due to the singles So Begins Our Alibi, and the MTV clip for Wraith Pinned to the Mist. The band released several collections of singles in early 2006. Kevin Barnes recorded most of the band's 2007 release, Hissing Fauna, Are You the Destroyer? By himself while living in Norway and Athens, Georgia. Barnes also released a companion CD to Hissing Fauna, Are You the Destroyer? Called Icons, Abstract Thee. In 2007, Kevin Barnes performed 5 songs nude during a performance in Las Vegas. In Paris, they did a takeaway show acoustic video session shot by Vincent Moon. Of Montreal's next album, Skeletal Lamping, was released on October 21, 2008. It was released in 10 different formats, including conventional CD and vinyl, as well as T-shirts, button sets, wall decals, tote bags, and a paper lantern, the latter formats complete with a digital download code for the album. All items for the collection were designed by the Be With Wheels and Gemini Tactics. In an essay addressing the concept behind the album's release, Kevin Barnes stated, "We feel that there's no reason to produce another object that just sits on a shelf. We only want to produce objects that have a function and that can be treasured for their singularness." In an interview with NPR, Kevin Barnes revealed that the concept of the CD may be going the way of the 8-track in favor of MP3 downloads. David Barnes joked that fans would buy the album via MP3 download and the version that comes with an amazing sandwich. The album reached #1 on Amusic's Most Downloaded Albums chart. The video for the album's second single, An Eluardian Instance, was directed by Jesse Yules. In August 2009, the band contributed a T-shirt design, which was printed and is currently being sold through the Yellow Bird Project website to raise money for the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. The shirt was designed by David Barnes. In recent years, the band has lent its songs many times to commercials, television programs, and films. The song Wraithpin to the Mist can be heard on radio and television commercials for an advertisement for Outback Steakhouse. Similarly, their song Every Day Feels Like Sunday was used in television commercials for Nasdaq. A sentence of sorts in Consvinger was used in a Comcast commercial. Dick Edit was used for a T-Mobile commercial which also featured the band as actors. Polyvinyl and Joyful Noise Recordings, teaming up with Grammy-nominated producer John Bryan, of Montreal's mastermind Kevin Barnes traveled to famed Ocean Way Recording to record False Priest. On October 25, 2011 of Montreal released a cassette box set of all 10 full-length albums via Joyful Noise Recordings. The release was limited to 500 hand-numbered copies, and housed in a custom-built wooden box. Each of the 10 cassettes were pressed on multi-colored tape shells and included original album art. Like their previous cassette release, MP3 download was included. Kevin Barnes hinted on Twitter that of Montreal's next studio album would be titled Paralytic Stalks. Kevin Barnes had revealed some information on the new album in an interview with Pitchfork Media. On October 20, 2011 Barnes announced that the new album was complete. In November 2011, the band released a new track titled Wintered Debts via the band's SoundCloud site, a track off the new album Paralytic Stalks. In January 2012, of Montreal released Do a Percentage, the first single from the new album. Paralytic Stalks was released on February 7, 2012. On November 12, 2012, the band created a Kickstarter page to help in the funding of a career-spanning, feature-length documentary called Song Dynasties. The film will consist of footage collected throughout of Montreal's entire career, including touring and studio sessions, as well as other musicians such as Andrew Van Wingerden of Management. The tentative release window for Song Dynasties was announced as spring 2013. An update regarding the documentary's progress was posted on the band's Facebook site in February. On April 25, 2013, of Montreal posted an announcement on their Facebook page stating that a new album entitled Lousy with Sylvain Bria had been completed. The post went into detail about the album's conception, including that Barnes' writing occurred while on a self-imposed isolation experiment in San Francisco in early 2013. He was influenced by Sylvia Plath, The Grateful Dead, Neil Young, and the Flying Burrito Brothers in his writing. Lousy with Sylvain Bria is scheduled to be released on October 8, 2013. On July 10, 2013, the band released the first single from the album, entitled Fugitive Air. On July 31, 2013, they announced that they would be touring their new album in October and November. On April 1, 2014 the band announced that their Kickstarter-backed film had changed its name to The Past as a Grotesque Animal, and would be released by Oscilloscope Laboratories. On April 29, 2014, it was announced that the film had a release date of June 24 accompanied by a tour of screenings prior that date. By means of a Facebook post and a Kevin Barnes interview conducted by Stereogum.com, of Montreal's most recent album R8 Gloom was announced. The record is influenced by the mid to late 70s music scene in New York. This includes bands such as Television and Talking Heads. The album captures Barnes' emotions born from his divorce from his wife of 11 years and its aftermath. Barnes described the album as being all over the place musically, lending to its reflection of his mindset during the time of its creation. The album is slated for a March 2015 release. Style. The group has a style that is typical of many Elephant Six bands due to its interest in combining musical experimentation and the basic tenets of pop, such as catchy melodies and sing-along choruses. The band's style has been influenced by not only more conventional indie pop and psychedelic music, but also by vaudeville and music hall on their earlier releases and by afrobeat, funk, and krautrock in their more recent releases. The band's style has been known to change between albums. At first, the band embraced a more simple, quirky, lo-fi indie pop sound, which occasionally bordered on twee pop. 2004's Satanic Panic in the Attic marked the result of an evolving change in style. The sound shifted to something more electronic, although at this point still with more standard instrumentation, and prominent guitars on most tracks. Side projects, true to the style of most Elephant Six recording artists, of Montreal's members have been in a variety of side projects with other bands. Kevin Barnes played keyboard for The Difference in the Shades on the Bright Eyes album Letting Off the Happiness. Kevin Barnes, Nina Barnes, and David Barnes did a comedy tour called Apollinaire Rave. The band performed as the backing band for Marshmallow Coast on record and on tour. Dottie Alexander released the song The You I Created on the Kindercore Singles Club, under the pseudonym My First Keyboard. Of Montreal acted as her backing band. Brian Poole has a solo career as the late BP Helium. Davy Pearce and Travis Adams from the now-defunct emo band My Hotelier, created the band Inkwell in 2004. James Huggins released A Parallax I under the name James Husband, which featured a cover of the Beatles' We Can Work It Out. Ahmed Gallup has a solo career as Sincan. He has played in the bands Born Ruffians, Caribou, Yajir, and Eleanor Friedberger. He is also the music director and band leader of the Atomic Bomb Band. Derek Elmstead has worked with many artists as a musician and engineer, including his collaboration with Andy Gonzalez M Coast, Elf Power, and Circulatory System. The group worked with artist Janelle Monáe on a track called Make the Bus in her 2010 LP The Arch Android. Kevin produced Salang Noel's latest album. Keish Bashi has a solo career as Kishi Bashi and toured as a supporting act with Sonderleash in 2011. Discography: 1997 Cherry Peel, 1998 The Bedside Drama, A Petite Tragedy, 1999 The Gay Parade, 2001 Coquelicot Asleep in the Poppies, A Variety of Whimsical Verse, 2002 Wald's Arboretum, 2004 Satanic Panic in the Attic, 2005 The Sunlandic Twins, 2007 Hissing Fauna, Are You the Destroyer? 2008 Skeletal Lamping, 2010 False Priest, 2012 Paralytic Stalks, 2013 Lousy with Sylvain Bria, 2015 Aureate Gloom. References. External links: of Montreal a Euro official site, of Montreal discography at Discogs, Paralytic Stalks review by Seth Katz for NTH Word Shorts, February 8, 2012, Joyful Noise Recordings.